Before we start, hit that subscribe button. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Helmand Province, Afghanistan, March 2004. Four-man patrol. We entered a minefield. We watched ourselves walk through it. Watched ourselves trigger mines. Watched ourselves die. Watched ourselves bleed out in the sand. Then we did it for real. You ever see yourself die? Not in a dream, not in imagination. Actually see it. Watch your own body get torn apart. Watch your own blood soak into desert sand. Watch yourself scream and try to hold your guts in and fail. We did, and we couldn't stop it from happening again. My name is Sergeant Marcus Whitfield. I'm 46 years old. I live in Manchester. I don't look in mirrors anymore. Don't look at photographs. Don't look at anything that might show me myself, because every time I see my own face, I remember watching it explode, watching it die, watching it become meat. This was March 2004. British Army, Helmand Province, early days of Afghanistan. Before it got really bad, before the casualties mounted, before everyone knew what we know now about IEDs and ambushes and enemies that melt into civilian populations. I was 26, sergeant, squad leader, 3 men under my command, Lance Corporal David Chen, Lance Corporal Robert Morrison, Private James Foster. Good soldiers, solid, reliable, the kind you trust in combat, the kind you'd die for. We died for nothing. Died because we walked into a minefield we'd already watched ourselves die in. Died because seeing the future doesn't mean you can change it. Died because some things are inevitable, no matter how much warning you get. March 12th, 2004. Hot morning. The kind of heat that makes you stupid, makes you careless. We were on routine patrol, village to village, checking on locals, making sure Taliban hadn't moved in overnight. Standard operation, nothing special, nothing dangerous, until we saw ourselves. The patrol route took us through open desert, sand, rocks, nothing, no cover, no vegetation, just flat wasteland between villages. Easy walking, easy visibility, easy to see threats, easy to avoid them. We were crossing that wasteland when Chen stopped. He was on point, 20 meters ahead. He stopped walking and just stared at something ahead. Something I couldn't see yet. Something that made him go completely still. I called to him. No response. I moved up. Morrison and Foster followed. We closed the distance, got to where Chen was standing, looked where he was looking, and there we were. 4 British soldiers, 50 meters ahead, walking through the desert. Same direction we were walking, same formation we used, same gear, same everything, except we were here, and they were there, and both couldn't be real. Chen's voice came out tight, said he saw 4 soldiers ahead, asked if I saw them too. I did. We all did. 4 men. British Army, desert camo, full kit. Walking patrol formation. Perfect discipline. Professional. Real. Except they were us. Same height, same build, same number, same everything. Like someone had made copies and sent them out 30 seconds ahead. Like the desert was showing us what we looked like from outside. Like reality had doubled and we were watching the other version of ourselves. Morrison said maybe they were another patrol. Different squad. Coincidence. Same route, same time. Happens sometimes. I wanted to believe that. Wanted it to be simple. But something was wrong. Something about the way they moved, the way they looked, the exact way they matched us. Foster suggested we call out, identify ourselves, make contact. Standard procedure when you encounter unknown friendlies. You call out. You verify. You make sure nobody shoots anybody by mistake. I did. I shouted. Announced ourselves. British Army. Echo Company. 4-man patrol. Requesting identification. The figures ahead didn't respond. Didn't stop. Didn't acknowledge. Just kept walking. Same pace. Same direction. Like they couldn't hear us. Like we weren't there. Like only one version of us was real, and they were the real one, and we were the echoes. We followed them. Kept distance. 50 meters back. Watched. They walked through the desert. No deviation. No hesitation. Straight line toward the next village. Perfect military movement. Exactly how we'd been trained. Exactly how we moved. Exactly how we would have moved if we were them. If we were us. If this made any sense. Chen kept asking what we were looking at. Kept asking if anyone else saw it. We did. All four of us. Same vision. Same impossible patrol ahead of us. Same soldiers who couldn't exist but did. Morrison suggested we close the distance. Get close enough to confirm identities. See faces. See if they were really us or just soldiers who looked like us from behind. I said no. Said we maintain distance. Said something was wrong, and wrong means dangerous, and dangerous means we stay back and assess. Military instinct. When something doesn't make sense, you don't rush toward it. You observe. You evaluate. You decide if it's threat or anomaly. And this was definitely anomaly. Possibly threat. Definitely confusing. The figures ahead moved with perfect discipline. Spacing correct. Formation correct. Every movement by the book. Whoever they were trained, experienced, professional. Just like us. Exactly like us. Too much like us. Foster said maybe we were looking at a time distortion. Something about desert heat and light refraction creating a mirror image of us projected ahead. Some kind of optical phenomenon. Advanced mirage. Physics doing something weird that looked like us but wasn't. I wanted to believe that. Wanted there to be a scientific explanation. Wanted this to be natural instead of supernatural. But mirages don't walk. Don't maintain formation. Don't move with military precision. Mirages shimmer. Distort. Disappear when you blink. These figures didn't shimmer. Didn't distort. Stayed solid. Stayed real. Stayed 50 meters ahead no matter how we adjusted our pace. That's when I noticed the timing. Their steps matched ours. When we stepped left, they stepped left. When we adjusted spacing, they adjusted spacing. When Morrison scratched his nose, his double scratched his nose. Perfect synchronization. Zero delay. Like they weren't ahead of us in space. Like they were ahead of us in time. Like we were watching ourselves from 30 seconds in the future. And that's when they entered the minefield. I didn't see mines. Didn't see warning signs. Didn't see any indication the ground ahead was anything except more sand and rocks and emptiness. The area looked clear, looked safe, looked like every other square meter of Afghanistan we'd walked through. No reason to suspect danger. No reason to think the next step would be fatal. But it was. The lead figure stepped forward. Normal step. Normal motion. Boot making contact with sand like boots had been making contact with sand for millions of steps before. Except this time, the sand pushed back. The sand exploded. The sand became fire and shrapnel and force. The mine detonated. The explosion was massive. Louder than I expected. Brighter than it should be. The figure at the center disappeared. Just vanished. One frame he was there. Next frame he was gone. Replaced by a cloud of sand and smoke and red mist that used to be a person. Used to be a soldier. Used to be the lead man in a patrol. Used to be someone's friend and someone's son and someone who had a life and plans and a future that just ended in the time it takes to blink. The sound hit us a half second after the visual. Pressure wave, physical force. The explosion pushing air and noise toward us in a wall of violence. We all flinched. Combat instinct. Sound of explosion means danger, means get down, means protect yourself. We dropped. Hit the sand. Weapons up. Eyes scanning. Looking for secondary threats. Looking for ambush. Looking for whatever comes after mines, because mines are never alone. Mines mean someone's trying to kill you, and where there's one attempt, there's usually two. But we were watching. Even on the ground, we were watching the figures ahead, watching what happened next, watching what we needed to avoid, watching our future if we'd kept walking. The other three figures reacted exactly how we would react, exactly how we'd been trained, exactly how instinct would demand. They ran toward their wounded, toward the explosion, toward where their friend had been, running to help, running to save, running to do something even though there was nothing to do. Even though running toward mines when mines have already killed someone is the stupidest possible reaction. But it's human. It's natural. It's what you do when your friend explodes and you're standing right there and every part of you screams to help. They ran directly into more mines. The second figure made it 3 steps before triggering another. The explosion lifted him, threw him, turned him into a rag doll made of meat. He hit the ground in pieces. More than one piece, less than one person. Just fragments that used to be connected, used to be alive, used to be running to help a friend. The third figure made it 5 steps. Different mine, same result. The explosion caught him from below, shredded his legs, destroyed everything below the waist. He went down, still alive, still conscious, still aware he'd just lost half his body and was about to lose the rest, still screaming. I could hear it from 50 meters away, could hear him screaming exactly how I would scream if it was me. Exactly the sound my lungs would make if my legs were gone and my body was dying and my brain knew it. Exact pitch, exact agony, exact terror. The fourth figure froze, stood perfectly still, looking at his dead friends, looking at the pieces scattered in sand, looking at the minefield he was standing in, looking at the fact that any direction he moved might trigger another mine, might be the next explosion, might be the next scream, might be him joining the others in fragments and failure and death that came from trying to help. He was covered in blood. Not his blood, their blood. Blood from the explosions, blood from the bodies, blood that had sprayed across him when his friends detonated. He was looking down at himself, at the blood, at the evidence of death, at the visceral proof that standing near explosions covers you in pieces of people you knew. I could see his face from 50 meters, could see the expression, the shock, the horror, the understanding that this was bad. This was very bad. This was the kind of bad that ends careers and lives and everything. The kind of bad that follows you forever if you survive. The kind that makes you wish you hadn't survived if you do. He looked exactly like I felt. Exactly the face I was making. Exactly the expression of someone who'd just watched their entire patrol die and knew they were next. Knew the next step would probably trigger the next mine. Knew standing still just delayed the inevitable. Knew moving forward would kill him. Knew moving backward would kill him. Knew staying would just extend the waiting for death instead of preventing it. He chose forward, took one careful step, testing, gentle, trying to distribute weight, trying to feel for resistance, trying to sense if this square foot of sand contained metal and explosives and death. He found out. The fourth mine detonated. The fourth explosion. The fourth death. The fourth soldier turned into meat and memory and nothing. He disappeared just like the others. Just like the first. Just like all of them. The minefield collected its tribute. 4 soldiers entered. 4 soldiers died, 4 mines triggered, 4 explosions, 4 clouds of red that used to be people. And then silence. The kind of silence that comes after violence, after noise, after the world demonstrates how fast life becomes death. The ringing silence. The shocked silence. The silence that makes you wonder if you're deaf or if the world actually stopped making sound for a moment to mark what just happened. We were still on the ground, still prone, still watching where the figures had been, where they'd died, where 4 soldiers who looked exactly like us had walked into a minefield and died exactly how we would have died if we'd been 50 meters further ahead, if we'd walked at the same speed, if we'd been in their position instead of ours. Chen was shaking, trembling. I could see it even though he was trying to stay still, trying to be professional, trying to be the soldier he was trained to be instead of the terrified kid he actually was. His voice came out wrong. Too high, too fast. Asked what we'd just seen. Asked if that was real. Asked if we just watched 4 people die. Asked questions that had no good answers. Morrison was silent. Completely silent, staring at the kill zone, at the disturbed sand, at the smoke that was clearing, at the spots where bodies should be, at the blood we could see from here, dark patches in light sand, patterns that proved something had happened, something violent, something final. He wasn't blinking, just staring, processing, trying to understand, failing. Foster was crying, tears running down his face, silent tears, no sounds, no sobs, just water leaking from eyes that had seen too much. He was young, 23, first deployment. He'd seen combat before, seen death before, but not like this. Not this close, not this clear, not watching 4 soldiers walk into mines and explode and die in seconds. That changes you, that rewires something, that creates memories that don't fade. I was trying to think, trying to be the sergeant, trying to figure out what procedure was, what training said, what manual covered watching doppelgangers die in minefields. There wasn't a manual for this, wasn't training, wasn't procedure. This was new. This was wrong. This was something that shouldn't exist but did, and now I had to figure out what to do about it. The blood was real. I could see it. Dark stains in sand, growing, spreading, soaking in. Blood doesn't lie. Blood doesn't appear from hallucinations. Blood means flesh. Flesh means bodies. Bodies mean people. People who died. People who were real. Even if they were us. Even if they were impossible. They were real enough to bleed, real enough to die, real enough to leave evidence. But were they really ahead of us? Were they really 50 meters forward? Or were they 50 meters in the future? Were we looking at space or time? Were those soldiers actually there, or were they us in 30 seconds? Us if we'd kept walking, us dying before we died, showing us what happened, warning us, saving us by dying first. I made the decision, called for support, called for mine clearance, called for medics even though I knew there was nobody to save, nobody to help, nobody left alive in that kill zone. But protocol, procedure. When soldiers die, you call for help. Even when help is pointless, even when you know it's too late, you call because that's what you do. While we waited, I kept staring, kept watching, kept trying to see bodies, kept trying to confirm what I knew, that 4 soldiers had died, that they'd exploded, that pieces of them were scattered in that sand, that this was real, that this happened, that we didn't imagine it, that we weren't crazy, that something impossible had just occurred and we were witnesses and now we had to convince other people it was real. Support arrived 30 minutes later. Mine clearance team, medics, officers. They swept the area, found mines, found 4 mines in exactly the pattern we'd described, exactly where the figures had stepped, exactly where they'd died. But they didn't find bodies, didn't find blood. Didn't find any evidence that 4 British soldiers had been torn apart 30 minutes ago. Just sand, just rocks, just mines that hadn't been triggered, that were still armed, still waiting, still ready to kill whoever stepped on them next. The clearance team leader asked what we'd seen. I told him. 4 soldiers walked into Minefield, stepped on mines, died. He looked at me like I was crazy, looked at my team, asked if we all saw it. We had. All 4 of us. Same thing. Same sequence. Same deaths. He said there were no bodies. No signs of detonation. The mines were still armed, still untriggered. Whatever we saw, it wasn't real. Wasn't actual soldiers dying. Maybe heat shimmer, maybe mirage, maybe exhaustion, maybe something. But not real. Except we'd seen exactly where the mines were. Seen exactly which steps would trigger them. Seen exactly how we would die if we'd kept walking. That's not mirage. That's not heat exhaustion. That's something else. Something that showed us the future. Showed us what would happen. Showed us dying. They marked the minefield, put up warning signs, cleared a safe path, told us to go around, to avoid the area, to not walk where the mines were, where we'd seen ourselves die. We did. We went around. We avoided the minefield. We didn't step where we'd seen the figures step. We stayed alive. We finished the patrol. We made it back to base. We filed reports. We told the story. We got psyche evaluations. We got told we'd been hallucinating. But we hadn't. Because 3 weeks later, it happened again. March 31st, 2004. Different patrol, different area. Same desert, same heat. Same mindless walking through nothing toward something. We were checking on a different village, different route, different everything, except the part where we saw ourselves again. This time they were closer, 30 meters instead of 50. Same 4 soldiers, same gear, same formation, same us. Walking ahead like we were following ourselves, like the desert had learned to predict us, to show us what came next, to warn us, or taunt us, hard to tell which. Chen saw them first again, said something was ahead. I looked. There they were. 4 figures. British Army. Us. Again. Morrison said this was impossible. Said it had to be different soldiers this time. Had to be coincidence. Had to be something normal. Foster said nothing. Just stared. Just watched. Just accepted that impossible things happen and explanations don't matter. We followed again. What else could we do? Turn back? Ignore them? Pretend we weren't seeing our own doubles walking 30 meters ahead? We followed. We watched. We learned what would happen next. They walked into an ambush. Taliban, hidden in rocks, 50 meters ahead of the figures. 70 meters ahead of us. The figures walked into the kill zone. The Taliban opened fire. The figures went down. All 4. Torn apart by rifle fire and RPGs and everything the enemy could throw. Dead in seconds. Dead exactly how we would have been dead if we'd kept walking. We stopped. We called for support. We engaged the Taliban position with long-range fire. We kept them busy until air support arrived. We avoided the ambush. We avoided dying. Because we'd seen ourselves die first. Seen the future. Seen what happened when we walked into that specific location at that specific time. The Taliban withdrew. We secured the area, found the kill zone, found blood, found brass, found evidence of a fight, but didn't find bodies. Didn't find 4 dead British soldiers. Didn't find ourselves. Just blood that could have been anyone's. Brass that could have been from any engagement. Evidence that proved nothing except someone had died here, or might die, or was always going to die. Command pulled us off patrol, sent us for medical evaluation, psychological testing, trying to figure out if we were crazy, if we were broken, if we needed to go home. The tests said we were fine. No mental illness, no trauma indicators, no signs we were hallucinating. Just 4 soldiers who kept seeing themselves die and then avoiding that death by doing something different. They sent us back out, said we were mission ready, said what we'd seen was probably fatigue, stress, desert conditions, the mind playing tricks. They said it wouldn't happen again. They were wrong. April 15th, 2004. 3rd Patrol. 3rd time seeing ourselves. This time 10 meters ahead. Close enough to see details. Close enough to see faces. Close enough to see that they were us. Exactly us. Down to scars and tattoos and everything that made us individuals instead of generic soldiers. Morrison said his double had the same scar on his left hand. Same scar Morrison got from a training accident in 2001. Chen said his double had the same tattoo on his forearm. Same tattoo Chen got in Hong Kong. Foster said his double had the same crooked nose. Same nose Foster broke playing rugby. I saw mine had the same wedding ring. Same ring my wife gave me. Same ring I wore every day. They were us. Not similar, not approximate, exact, perfect, impossible. Us, but displaced. Us, but ahead. Us, but doomed. They walked into an IED, buried in the road. Command detonated. Someone watching, someone waiting, someone who triggered it the moment the figures reached the optimal kill zone. The IED went off. The figures vanished, replaced by crater and smoke and pieces that used to be people, used to be us. We stopped. We called EOD. We called for route clearance. We told them exactly where the IED was, exactly where it would detonate, exactly how we knew. They found it, disarmed it, removed it. Saved our lives because we'd watched ourselves die and knew exactly how to avoid it. This time they believed us. Not about seeing ourselves, but about knowing where threats were, about somehow predicting danger before we encountered it. They called it enhanced tactical awareness, called it combat intuition, called it anything except what it was. Precognition, seeing the future, watching ourselves die, and then not dying because we changed what we did. But we were dying. Every time we saw those figures, every time we watched them die, every time we survived, we died a little, lost a little, became a little less real, because seeing yourself die changes you, makes you question if you're still alive, if you're still you, if you're the real version or the echo version, if surviving means you were supposed to die and failed. Chen started having nightmares, said he saw himself every night, saw all his deaths, all the ways he died, all the patrols that killed him. He'd wake up screaming, sweating, convinced he was dead, convinced this life was the afterlife, convinced he'd actually died in that minefield and everything since was his brain firing its last electrical impulses before shutting down forever. Morrison stopped looking in mirrors, said his reflection wasn't right, said it moved wrong, said it looked like the figures, like the doubles, like the version that died. He covered every reflective surface, avoided windows, avoided water, avoided anything that might show him himself. Foster got quiet, stopped talking, stopped joking, just did his job, walked his patrols, watched ahead, waiting to see himself die again, waiting to learn how, waiting to avoid it, waiting to not avoid it, waiting to find out which version was real, the one that died or the one that lived. I kept seeing them, not just on patrol, everywhere, in base, in my tent, in my dreams. 4 soldiers, walking ahead, doing what I was about to do, dying how I was about to die. Always ahead, always doomed. Always me. May 2004. 4th patrol. 4th time. Last time. The figures appeared 5 meters ahead, close enough to touch, close enough to talk to, close enough to see that they saw us too. They turned around, looked directly at us, made eye contact, and they knew. We knew they knew. We were looking at ourselves, and they were looking at themselves, and both versions knew exactly what the other was thinking. They smiled. Not happy, not cruel, just accepting. Like they knew this was how it ended, how it always ended, how it was always going to end. They turned back around, kept walking, walked toward what was ahead, walked toward death that was waiting, walked toward the future we were about to have. We followed, couldn't help it, couldn't stop, couldn't turn back, had to see, had to know, had to find out what they were walking toward, what we were walking toward, how this ended. They walked into nothing, just open desert, no mines, no ambush, no IED, just sand and rocks and heat. They stopped, turned around, looked at us, pointed ahead, pointed at where they were standing. Then they vanished, just disappeared. No explosion, no death, no dying, just gone, like they'd never been there. We walked to where they'd been standing, found nothing, no footprints, no evidence, nothing that proved they'd existed, just sand, just desert, just the spot where they'd pointed, where they'd told us to go, where we were supposed to be. We stood there, 4 British soldiers, standing where our doubles had stood, standing where they'd disappeared, standing where something was supposed to happen but hadn't yet, waiting, wondering, knowing something was wrong but not knowing what. That's when the artillery hit. Friendly fire, grid coordinate error. Artillery mission meant for a target 2 kilometers away. Coordinates entered wrong. Shells falling on us instead of enemy. Falling on 4 British soldiers standing in open desert where they weren't supposed to be, where they shouldn't be, where they'd been led. The figures had shown us. They'd walked us here. They'd positioned us exactly where the artillery would land. They'd known. They'd been us after the artillery had already hit. After we were already dead. After this moment had already happened. They were us from after. Showing us how we died. Leading us to our own deaths. Chen died first. Direct hit. 77mm shell. He was gone before he knew what happened. Morrison died second. Shrapnel. Caught him in the chest. Tore through body armor like paper. He had maybe 3 seconds. 3 seconds of knowing. 3 seconds of dying. 3 seconds of being right that his reflection wasn't real anymore. Foster died third. Another direct hit. Another gone before knowing. Another soldier who'd spent weeks watching himself die and then died anyway. Died because seeing the future doesn't let you change it. Just lets you know it's coming. Just lets you anticipate. Just lets you be ready. Just lets you die informed instead of surprised. I should have died fourth. Should have been torn apart like the others. Should have been meat and sand like they were. But I wasn't. The shells stopped. The fire mission ended. 3 shells, 3 dead. 3 coordinates in the kill zone. 1 coordinate outside it. 1 soldier still standing. 1 survivor who watched his 3 friends die exactly how we'd all watched ourselves die for weeks. I was alone. Standing in a crater. Standing in blood. Standing in pieces of people I knew. People I'd led. People I'd gotten killed by following figures that showed us the future and led us into artillery. They sent me home. Medical discharge. survivor's guilt, PTSD, combat trauma. All the labels they give soldiers who see things they shouldn't see and survive things they shouldn't survive. They said I'd get better. Time heals. Therapy helps. You'll recover. You'll move on. You'll be normal again. I didn't. Because I still see them. Not just Chen and Morrison and Foster. All four of us. Walking ahead. Showing me the future. Showing me what comes next. Showing me that one day I'll die too. One day I'll be the figure ahead. One day someone else will watch me die and not be able to change it. It's been 20 years. 20 years since Helmand. 20 years since the artillery. 20 years since I watched my friends die after watching ourselves die for weeks. 20 years of seeing figures ahead, seeing myself ahead, seeing my own death approach. Yesterday, I saw them again. 4 British soldiers, walking ahead of me, walking down my street in Manchester, walking in 2004 desert camo in 2024 British city, walking patrol formation on civilian pavement, walking toward something I can't see yet but will. Soon. Very soon. They turned around, looked at me, smiled that same accepting smile, pointed ahead, pointed at where they're walking, where I'm walking, where I'm going to be, where something is waiting, where my death is waiting, where the future that's been chasing me for 20 years finally catches up. I'm following them now. Can't stop, can't turn back, can't avoid it. I've been avoiding it for 20 years. Avoiding the moment, avoiding the end, avoiding the death I was supposed to die in that artillery strike. But you can't avoid forever, can't run forever, can't survive forever. Eventually the future arrives. Eventually you become the figure walking ahead. Eventually you die how you were always going to die. The figures are 10 meters ahead now. I can see details. I can see it's me. All 4 are me. Chen's version, Morrison's version, Foster's version, and my version. All the deaths we avoided. All the futures we changed. All the versions that were supposed to be. All walking together. All leading me somewhere. All showing me what comes next. 5 meters ahead. They've stopped. They're pointing. They're showing me where to stand, where to be, where it happens. I can't see what it is yet. Can't see the threat. Can't see the danger. Just see them pointing. Just see them smiling. Just see them being patient, being accepting, being ready for what comes next. They're right in front of me now. I can touch them. I can see they're real. They're me. They're every version of me that died, every future I avoided, every death I postponed, all collected, all together, all here to show me that you can only avoid death so many times before it stops being avoidable. They're pointing at my feet, pointing at the ground, pointing at where I'm standing. And I understand now. I understand what they've been showing me for 20 years. It's not about where I'm going. It's about where I am. It's about the fact that I never left, never survived, never escaped, that I died in that artillery strike with my friends, that I've been a ghost for 20 years, a figure walking ahead of my own death, showing myself what comes next, leading myself to the moment I accept it. The figures are smiling. They're nodding. They're welcoming me. Because I'm them now. I'm the figure ahead. I'm the warning. I'm the future someone else will see and try to avoid. And I